Yeah, you know what's funny? Like the amount of time like we've taken to make that disc and all these files and stuff, and it kind of goes back to what you said in your video about it, Elin, is that which was another thing that I didn't even think about. And that is when you're doing the level matching section, and you can have the pink noise coming out of the AVR. You made a great point is of you want to calibrate for where you're watching the movie from, the source.
Right.
So you're now calibrating from the Blu-ray player, which is where you play your 4K discs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's interesting when people say, "Yo, I played your disc in my 514 setup, let's say, and the rear heights are not playing out of the height channels. They're playing out of the ear level speakers." I was like, "Oh, okay." They're like, "I might have a faulty disc." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, no, it's not a faulty disc." "Oh, but I played the pink noise through the AVR and it came out the proper speakers." Now, here's the thing. We made these things. I think the call outs were the first thing I ever made, right? And I believe everything that on that disc was from like May or June of last year of me just saying front left, center, front right. And then some of the ones I know that I hated, like rear right. I just said it all weird. I was just like, screw it. I'm just testing it. And it ended up on the disc because I just didn't want to re-record everything. But when you actually, the disc actually engages Dolby Atmos. So that means all your settings matter as far as your layout and what's going on in the config screen and all that stuff. So if you have a speaker layout that is an Oro 3D specific layout, like surround heights, and you try to play our disc, everything from you that's supposed to be in your rear height will now fold down into your surround or side surround, because that's the way Atmos, if it's activated and you have the wrong setting, it's not going to come out the correct speaker. So that was one of the things, like the amount of time we spent on this, everything's correct. There's nothing that's wrong. If there's a sound coming out of the wrong speaker, there's a setting or a wire mixed up in the system. And that's because even though the pink noise from the AVR comes out, because it's just sending pink noise to a specific terminal. So if you have that terminal connected to the right speaker, it'll work. But once Atmos is engaged and all your settings are taken into account and the sound's coming out the wrong speaker, that means the setting is wrong. And so that's kind of like what you were saying, when you wanted to you want to calibrate the source of where I'm watching the movies from.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was a nice way of putting it.
So Elin, I think you said a few things like I like the criticisms actually. Yeah. You're like, well, I wish that they would have done what is it, the polarity? One of the tests you're like, you wish that it wouldn't have been just left as the reference?
The timing, yeah.
Timing. Okay.
I wish I could have specified which two speakers to play at the same time.
So more like the speaker pair section. Yeah.
What? You're saying it's not perfect?
Well, I mentioned it in my video. I don't know if I misread or didn't read the manual enough, but when I was doing the crossovers, when I was doing the crossover tests, how it activated my subwoofers. Was that intentional?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So activating your subwoofers is something that we can't control because the base management on your processor says that anything below 80 hertz or wherever you have it crossed over is going to automatically transfer that to the subs.
Right.
So you would have to manually say, no, these are all full range speakers.
Got it.
Yeah.
So even though we specifically don't send anything to LFE,
it's still
the base
going to
management
manage
will send something to your subs.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we didn't mess up on that one.
Yeah. No. So it's like a couple of, like, you can do a couple of things. You can turn off your sub or tell your receiver you don't have a sub, and then have your speaker full range. Run it so you can see on each speaker. Run it So you can see like, okay, where's a good crossover point? And you pick it for all your speakers, including your heights. And then you can turn on your sub and then see how well the blend is, right?
Yeah.
Do I notice a big jump from my center channel all the way to the corner of the room where the sub is? Then you might have to like, do some more fiddling with your setup kind of things.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the other thing that you said was that, for the timing test, we only use one speaker as the reference.
Yeah.
Right? The left speaker is the reference point and everything is relative to that. And the idea is if everything is time aligned to this left speaker, that also means that they're time aligned to each other. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the way you wanted to use it was kind of for imaging purposes.
Yes.
And that's actually what the speaker pairs section is for. So Reverend Slim is in the chat. He's the one who asked us to do it, and Sean had to make all these like, look at him. So thank
Like
you
30
to
more
Reverend
files.
Slim.
Damn.
Yeah, that was a lot. But he wanted these files for that specific purpose. Is he said, this is all good, but I want to image between left and center and right, and then the right and right height. I want to hear the imaging between them. And so on that one, we're playing pink noise. And so it's a static type of deal, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to doop, doop, doop. And it's just kind of easier to see, like, is it in the middle? Like, where's the imaging when it's pink noise?
Yeah.
And then we kind of had a limitation of how many tracks we could have put on there.
Sure. Yeah.
Were we towards that limit, or did we
See, that's the thing. We didn't know.
Okay.
Right? We didn't know. So we ended up with 16 gigabytes. So, I mean, we could have done it.
Mhm.
We just didn't know. And even though like I made 160 tracks, you have to multiply that by 3 is what you have to deliver to the Blu-ray author guy. So 480 tracks is what we delivered to the author. So from there, then he has to stick it in and then just be like, oh, it pops out like 16 gigs. Okay, we didn't know.
Yeah.
So-
it wasn't something we could have checked beforehand. And so
Yeah.
we were kind of playing it safe, because we had a deadline. We're like, we wanted it out
Yeah.
by a certain time.
And Joe's like, oh, let's do 2 minutes on everything. I'm like, 2 minutes on everything, dude. That's gonna like take up all the space.
Yeah. So it's funny because I haven't had to think about like space limitations in a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, when do you think about like, oh, do we have enough space for that? Like, no, you have enough space.
No, we got
You know what I
10 terabytes on this hard drive. Right?
Right.
So that's kind of the reason the speaker pairs would be useful for what you're trying to do. Where is we try to do all the permutations. I haven't used that word in a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good word, man.
And like
That
Joe
was
gave me
smart.
the list, and I was like, in my head, I'm like, okay, I got to organize this out. I'm like, did I get these two, those two, and then how to order it? Like it was all.
We just wanted
a lot of stuff.
the speaker that was next to it. We needed to touch every speaker that was.
Yeah. So
next
if
to
it's the surround left, it'll be your middle height, your front left, your surround back, right, and then in the one in the corner, it's the other 3 around it.
So yeah, hopefully
A lot of visualizing I did on that one. I was just like, is this all of them? And I'm like sitting there. It's like 4 a.m. I'm like counting. Okay, this speaker. So we got to go these 3. For real. My wife thought I was crazy. I literally there was a span of 3 days. I was in the same pajamas because I did not leave my dining table. Right. Because I had both computers because I need my Mac and then the PC to like, to do all of this. Do all the encoding on the PC and stuff. And so like I literally I woke up one day and then just started going. And then, we had dinner. We took a break for dinner and she had some TV on. And then she's like, I'm going to bed. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll be there in a little bit. Next thing you know, it's 4 a.m. I'm like, oh, I should go to sleep. And then I go to sleep, wake up at like 9. Okay, let's go. Let's get back into it and work on it. And then, after those 3 days, I was just like, okay, Joe, here it is. He's like, damn, you did all of those. I was like, yeah, I just didn't stop.
yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, man.
After every Monday podcast, we have an after show. If you're interested in joining us, go to patreon.com/daily HiFi.